Hey mortals, my name is Mika, and today I'm going to be talking about how I stay cool as a fairy performer at Renaissance festivals. And in honor of staying cool, I am wearing my cool blue fairy flower hat and collar set. And both of these items are for sale, so someone please come take this from my house. You can buy this set at Fairy Realm Fashion, and all of my links will be in the description below. So I play Sprout, the Fae of Seas, at Renaissance Festival, and I am head to toe covered in garb, and my face is covered in alcoholic-based makeup. So I get extremely hot at the Renaissance Festival, especially in the summer and early fall when it's still really scorching hot. Even when it's not hot, I still get too hot when I play Sprout. So I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how I stay cool at the festival, and hopefully some of you guys can use some of these tips for yourself and not die of a heat stroke while you're trying to have fun at the festival. So I'm going to start out with the most obvious things, like 1, stay in the shade. Obviously when the sun is beaming down on you, it is gonna make you feel hotter because it's the sun. So stay in shade as much as possible. Another way you can shade yourself is by using an umbrella or like a parasol. I personally have a leaf umbrella for my character, but I generally don't use it for the sun because I just stay in the shade as much as possible. But if I have to go out in the beaming sun, like especially for my dance show, I can use my umbrella as like a parasol, and I'm probably gonna end up making another one that's just for the sun, but essentially you can use a parasol, which will help protect you from the sun. Also, having some sort of head covering will help too. Now you want to be careful with a hat. You want to get a hat or a hood or whatever that's not going to cook your head like an oven. You want to make sure that your head is going to have plenty of airway. My Sprout hat is a hood, and it like opens in the front, and there's plenty of air that goes through, and it's a super light felt hat, and it's very airy, and it really helps to keep me cool. Another side note with that, which I know that most people aren't going to do just for the festival, but I actually have the sides of my head shaved. If you can see that, both sides of my head are shaved, and with that opening there from my hat and the wind just blows right on my side shaves, it really helps me to keep cool. Next is drink plenty of water. The colder the water, the better. It is better for you to drink tons of water and need to pee every 5 seconds than it is to not drink water. Keep your water as cool as you possibly can. How I personally do it is I have a gourd, which is not down here right now, but it's essentially like this, but it's much larger. I keep that on me on my belt, and I do put some water in it, and that is for like just in case water if I am out in the field at the festival and I'm not really in the best position to run back to my green room or backstage area to get the cold water. Then I can drink that gourd right then and there so that I have something to drink. But I also keep a water bottle inside my cooler so I have really cold water, and I refill it using these like big tubs that are provided for us, and it's just a big thing of iced water, and I can refill that and keep it in my cooler, and so I have that water that's nice and cold that can really help keep my insides cold. Another thing I just want to add is that apparently electrolytes are very good for you when you're at the festival. Drink mostly water, but then get some electrolytes in, whether it's Gatorade or like little electrolytes packets. I hear those are better for you. It'll help you give the energy that you need to survive the entire festival day, and I'm sure it's better than drinking like a typical energy drink. Number 3, going back to the restroom thing. If you are using a porta potty or any type of restroom, really, but especially a porta potty, use a porta potty that is 1, in the shade, preferably all day shade. 2, use the bigger porta potty because you're gonna have a little bit more air in there than the smaller porta potty. And 3, hopefully use the porta potty that is being used the least. If you are a performer, you're gonna want to use a porta potty or any restroom that is for employees only if you can. If your festival has like employee or like performer only restrooms, you want to use that, and hopefully your performers know that when you use a porta potty, you need to shut the lid. Shut the lid when you're done with it, because inside the porta potty you got a bunch of nasty, hot, poopy water. If you leave the lid open, that air is going to go right out of the toilet. If you shut it, the air goes through a different pipe that goes up on top of the porta potty, and the air kind of goes out upward over the porta potty. So if everyone's using the restroom right and keeps the lid shut, then hopefully when you go to use the restroom in there, it's not as hot. And it's not cooking like an oven. Because I have had times when I used the restroom and I didn't properly prepare myself beforehand, and I nearly almost fainted while I was using the restroom because it was that hot in there. So before you go to the restroom, properly prepare yourself and then use the best restroom that you can find. One that's in the shade, the biggest one, you know, like the handicap type of porta potty, and then hopefully you can have one that is for performers only or employees only, so that there's less people using it and less people who have no idea of any kind of restroom etiquette whatsoever, peeing on the toilet seats and all that kind of stuff. Just do what you can to find the best restroom you can. Number 4 is to wear cool garb. Obviously, the cooler your garb is, the cooler you're gonna be. Now, for me personally, what I've done is I wore garb that was really too hot in 2021. For 2022, not only did I adjust my garb, I made some new garb pieces that were cooler. Before, I was wearing some really thick felt, and then I remade some of my felt pieces with the smaller thin felt that you can get at like Joann's, like this kind of felt, which is, this is double layered. The felt that I use for Sprout is only single layered, so it's even thinner than this. But not only did I make it cooler, but I made my garb in a way where I can keep ice in my shirt, and then it can make my shirt wet without it ruining my garb. 2021, I wore a leather bodice, which is hot enough as it is, but when I soaked it, it would bleed out leather dye, which was a huge problem. Now I have a felted vest that sits on my shirt, but it's not necessarily directly touching my shirt. It just kind of sits in front of the shirt, and I can put ice in my shirt, in my bra, and even if it falls out of my bra, I have a meshy bodysuit for the skin because I need non-human skin, so I have to wear something on my arms to make it look like I have non-human skin. But I wear this bodysuit which can hold the ice as well. If it falls out of my bra, it can just sit like on my stomach in the bodysuit. Having that ice on my chest really helps, but then also when it melts, it will get my entire shirt wet, which is just like a regular cotton shirt. And that alone, it's night and day. Like without it, I can barely survive the festival. With that, I'm golden, I'm good, I can do everything, I can dance, I can go crazy and not overheat. I can even go to the restrooms and the porta potty and not overheat. Now, I pack like 2 handfuls of ice. As much ice as my bra can physically hold when it's really, really hot, that's how much ice I put in my bra. But it works. It works for me, and it keeps me alive without having a heat stroke or without having to sit out. Another side note with the ice in the shirt is if you're wearing a bra or anything that can hold ice in your shirt, don't forget that you can actually put it on your back. So I actually put ice in my bra, on my back sometimes. I don't put as much ice because my back can't handle it as much as my chest can. But you can also pour water back there. And I think sometimes we forget that our back exists when it comes to that. But if you're like putting ice on your chest and you feel like you're just so hot and it just feels like it's not really working, try putting some ice on your back as well. And I know that that has really helped me before. Also, if you want to keep ice in your shirt or bra or whatever, but your garb can't really handle the ice or the water, you can get something called a bodice chiller, and it's a little container that you put like water in it, you freeze it, and then you can put it in your shirt, but it doesn't get you wet. Now it might get you a little wet because of like sweat and condensation or whatever, but it's not gonna like pour out and like, you know, fully soak you. Or if you just can't handle the ice being directly on your skin, a bodice chiller may be a good option for you. Another thing is my body suit. So if I were to pour water on my arms, it would get it cool, but then it would dry up pretty quickly. But with my bodysuit, I can get it soaked. I pour water on it, or sometimes I even rub ice on it to really get it like wet enough so that when I pour water on it, it'll just like soak in to the suit, because sometimes when I just pour water on it, it just wants to kind of bounce off and not soak into a suit. So I'll first rub it with ice, and then I'll pour water on it. And then that bodysuit absorbs the water, and it keeps it wet for a while. So then my arms stay cool because it has this like nice ice cold water soaked into the suit. One thing that I don't do, and there's a very good reason why I don't do it, is wear open toe shoes. If you wore open toe shoes like sandals, it would keep you cool. I wear these really awesome leather boots And my boots, my feet do get hot. I don't think there's anything I can really do about that. It's not good to like soak your feet inside socks and boots, because then you'll get messed up feet. But the reason why well, there's multiple reasons why I don't wear sandals. But a big reason why I don't wear sandals is because you're at the festival, and most of the festival is like gravel, and you really want your feet to be properly protected for that kind of terrain. And anytime I wear sandals, if I'm like camping out and I'm just trying to go to the restroom or whatever, I always get rocks inside of my shoes, because you know the ground is mostly gravel and little rocks get inside and I step on it and it hurts. So even though wearing sandals would probably keep you cooler, I still don't recommend that, just because you do want your feet to be properly protected. But ultimately it's up to you. If you've got like super calloused feet or whatever, if you're like a freaking ballet dancer, modern dancer, then go for it. Some people literally go shoeless. I don't know how they do it. Yeah, that's really up to you. I don't remember what number we're on, but the next thing that I do to keep myself cool at the Renaissance Festival is a fan. Now, this is not a fan, it's a leaf. I used to use this as a fan, but now I use a proper fan. It's a fan that I just basically put 2 felt leaves on top of it, so it looks like a leaf fan. But this works really just fine as a fan. Basically, a hand fan where it has this sort of general shape, and it usually has a handle, although you don't really need a handle. Hand fans like this are really easy for you to keep on your belt, so you want to always have a hand fan on your belt at all times, because then you can whip it out and just do this, and look at that wind blowing on my face right now. It really helps, especially if you're having one of those days where there's like no wind blowing and it's just like hot and muggy and wet outside. This, trust me, it helps tremendously. Even if you don't end up using it all the time, at least have one on you so that it's an option. Another fan that I use is actually like an electric fan. It's like this big. It's rechargeable, so I can just plug it in, charge it up, and then take it with me to the festival. And I keep that in my backstage green room area, so that when I go back there and I feel like it's too hot of a day, or just I want to take a break and eat or something, but it's just uncomfortably hot, then I'll just whip out my fan and I will put it in front of me and I'll just let it cool me. Obviously, a fan like that I can't take out to the ground. If you're a patron, maybe you can do that. But as a performer, I definitely can't use like an electric fan to cool me, but it works great for backstage for sure. The next thing that I do to keep myself cool at the Renaissance Festival is eat cold foods. My number one go-to is watermelon. Watermelon is great for hydration and keeping you cool, especially if you keep a cooler. You should bring a cooler. If you work at the festival, if you perform at the festival, you should bring your own cooler. But what I do is I keep watermelon in my cooler and I take it out and I eat it, and it's super cold and it's super wet. Another thing is for like my meats and stuff, I eat cold sandwiches, like just turkey and bread. If you want to like add cheese or mayonnaise or whatever, you can do that, but try to avoid hot foods. It kind of annoys me a little bit that there's not a lot of options at some of the festivals that only sell hot foods. Basically, they don't really have any cold food options, and their cold food options are like dessert. I don't want dessert, I want some substance, but that's not hot. So like cold or like room temperature sandwiches are great for that. Any fruits, pickles are great, but yeah, if you're eating hot foods, that hot food is going to go into your belly and it's going to make your body a bit hotter, so you're going to want to avoid that at all possible on hot days. Alright, and this is going to be my last and final tip because I can't think of anything more, is actually train your body to handle the heat before the festival, especially if you're a festival regular, if you're a performer or something along those lines. Keep your house hot. If you can't because you got family or whatever, wear like sweaters and sweatpants, you know, maybe work out and get used to being hot all the time. Take baby steps, don't overdo it, but start training your body to get used to being hot. For me personally, I grew up in Texas and I grew up dancing, and of course there were so many times when we didn't have AC or it was just not cold enough, so we had to endure in the heat. I was a hip-hop dancer, so we wore like sweatpants and stuff, hoodies and whatnot while we danced. And I also went to the Renaissance Festival, so by the time I started working at the Ohio Renaissance Festival, I was mostly good to go. At first my garb was still a little bit too hot for me to handle, which is why I changed some things and I started adding ice to my shirt. But having all those years of basically heat training, I'm sure really helps a lot. So if you feel like you're really struggling at the Renaissance Festival with the heat, I would spend some time during the off season to just get your body used to being hot and to be comfortable with being hot. But our bodies are good at adapting. That's why, you know, people in hot countries can really handle some insane hot degree weather, and then people in cold countries can really handle cold weather. It's because our bodies can adjust. So you can actually train your body to adjust to hot temperatures. Alright, so that is everything I have for this video. If you have any more tips and tricks, go ahead and put those down in the comments below. I would love to hear some maybe new tricks that I haven't heard of before. I mean, if you have different needs, let's say if you have to wear metal armor, if you have any ideas for that to keep cool, go ahead and leave those in the comments as well. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope somebody has learned a thing or two from this video, and I really hope to see you in the next video. Bye-bye!